Hey, welcome back to the shop, everybody. Hope everybody had a nice Christmas and a Happy New Year. Um, there hasn't been a lot of work going on in the shop. Well, that's partially true. Um, anyway, we'll start with the Matchless because that's kind of what we were working on. I ordered yet another set of gaskets. If you recall, I had issues with the gaskets that didn't fit. And of course, the company I bought them from is overseas, and they refuse to stand behind their product. I'm not going to mention a name because I don't want to get in any trouble, but they refuse to stand behind their product. They asked for pictures. I sent them pictures. They refused to refund my money, even though acknowledging that the gaskets don't fit. So it's a shame because I've bought a lot of stuff from this company in the past, but I guess I won't be in any more in the future. But anyway, so after a second set of gaskets didn't fit from another company, probably all made by the same company, but I decided to go ahead and make my own. So I made a paper template to start with. All right, so here's my paper template. I just have to punch the holes, but now I have a gasket here that should fit. I measured the thickness of the gaskets I received, and they were 1/64. So I wanted to get the same thickness because you don't want to run into issues on your transmission of gears not meshing right, the Kickstarter not meshing right, and so on and so forth. So I'm waiting for those to come, for that gasket material to come, and then I can trace my paper template onto the gasket material and make a correct gasket the first try. In the meantime, I got some exciting news. Several, and to be specific, 3 purchases were made over the holidays of project bikes. We'll start with this one. This is a 1998 police issue BMW. You can see it's already half disassembled. I actually did start working on this. I wasn't going to film it because I'm not sure if it would be something that would interest anybody. I'll drop a picture of what it looked like before I sold it here in this video now. County's name or a township's name where it came from or where it was employed. Here's the original siren that was still on the one leg guard. So it was kind of an emotional buy. I probably shouldn't have bought it. It sat for at least probably 15 years, and it did not sit in the best environment. It's going to be a lot of work, and the problem with BMWs, and the reason why I tend to avoid BMWs, is parts are outrageously expensive. And this bike is fuel injected with anti-lock brakes and all this stuff. And here's a cautionary tale for you. It wouldn't start. I went through a whole bunch of troubleshooting procedures, and long story short, the fuel pump was bad. So the fuel pump resides inside the gas tank. Okay, this is the giant 7 and some odd gallon gas tank here. That big hole you see, that's where the fuel pump was. So I pulled the fuel pump plate out, and there was a lot of fuel in there that I drained out. This is what 15 years of sitting in fuel does to stuff. This is unsavable at this point. All these tiny wires, the fuel pump is bad. This is just the you can see the little float here. That's bad. With the little wires that go to it, they're all bad. So I got to find one of these. In addition, the master cylinder is no good. I've been trying for several weeks now see, where did I put the master cylinder? Oh, here. I was trying for several weeks to get this. Somehow the piston got stuck all the way in, and I cannot for the life of me get it out. I tried all the usual tricks. And of course, BMW makes this so there is no real aftermarket, and a new master cylinder from BMW is like $500. So I'm going to stop working on the brakes for now, because then once you get into that, there was actually no brake fluid left in it. It all crystallized. Nothing came out when I took the lines out. The calipers are probably shot. All the lines are shot. And then you have this big ABS module here. You know, God forbid if that's bad, because all your brake lines go into it. The brake fluid could have ruined this. Then you're stuck trying to find a used replacement that might still work. The fuel injectors are probably plugged up with the same crap that was in that gas tank. So in retrospect, if I would have thought about this instead of letting my emotions take over of wanting to have a legitimate police bike that still had all the actual police stuff on it, I would have never bought this bike. But I can't stand to see a good bike go to waste, so I will slowly pick away at this as I can find cheaper parts on eBay and some other sources, and eventually at least get it running and see where we can go from there. I'm going to get it running first, then I'll worry about the brakes. I did pull the fuel injectors out when I found out the fuel pump was no good. I pulled the fuel injectors out on both sides, squirted starting fluid in them, and jumped the bike, and it did actually fire off and run for like a second until it ran out of starting fluid juice. So it will run, which at least that's a good sign. You can see this stuff here is all deteriorating. I think that's from mouse piss being on it. But yeah, proper storage is critical. In addition to this, I found a guy who was selling a pair, a 69 and a 70 Triumph Bonnevilles. This one, the 69, he had started restoring probably about 20 years ago and gave up about 20 years ago. So it's been sitting a long time. The 70 has been sitting probably just as long. The 70 is a big project. It needs absolutely everything, as you can tell by looking at it. There's no part on this that doesn't need to be redone. I mean, somebody painted the frame blue at some point. I mean, everything is just bad. The only real good things this bike had going for it is numbers matching. The engine does still kick over, and the gas inside the gas tank is rust free. So this will be a later project. The 69, however, is actually a pretty good start. He had all the really hard stuff done. The frame was painted, all the tins were painted. The engine was redone somewhat. There's some of this that still needs to be redone, like the head is nasty dirty. The engine cases are dirty from it sitting for so long. So some of this stuff, and you can see the clutch is all rusted up, the primary chain is rusted up. So some of this is going to have to be redone. But it's a pretty decent start to a 69 Bonneville. Here's the gas tank. Gas tank was done really nicely. 69 was some pretty colors, I think. Although most of the Bonnevilles I thought were pretty bikes. So there's that. The only thing for some reason he didn't paint was the oil tank. So I'm going to have to paint the oil tank and put new decals on it. And as soon as I get probably his Matchless off the table, I'll probably roll the 69 up on the table. I got to pull the front end apart because from age, the boots have torn. There's no wiring harness in it. He bought a wiring harness, but it's not the kind I like. He bought a wire harness that uses just black, like electrical tape and black coat coverings. I don't like those. They're not actually correct. I like the cloth covered with the colored tracers in them. So I'm going to order another wiring harness for it. I can see areas where like he used whatever kind of bolt he had, not the proper kind of bolts. So I will be sourcing all of those. But you know, it's a pretty good start. Again, his numbers matching. And I could probably get this put back together fairly quick once I get started on it. My goal is to have this done by June, so that I can take it to the Triumph Rally in Olney, Pennsylvania. So that's the goal. We'll see how that goes. But that's what's been happening. And there may be yet one more purchase coming if I can make the deal. I have a secret goal. 59 was the first year for the Triumph Bonnevilles, and 70 was what many people consider to be the last good year, because in 71 they went to oil and frame, which most people generally don't like. I would like to have one of each year from 59 to 70. So far I have a 62, a 68, now a 69 and 70, and later in a few days I'm going to look at a 67 that was also a partially started restoration. So I might have a 67, 8, 9, and 70. So that's one of my secret goals. So don't tell anybody. But anyway, here after New Year, we'll probably get back to work here in the shop. I want to get this Matchless finished up and get that off the lift. The sooner I get that off the lift, the sooner I can work on the 69. And let me know, guys, if you guys want to see work done on the BMW. If it's something that interests enough people, I'll do videos of it. They're not going to come real frequently, because this is going to be one of those ones where I'm going to have to slowly wait to accumulate what I hope are decent parts off of eBay and whatnot, because brand new parts from BMW are just way too expensive to do this bike, and a lot of it's not even existent anymore, new from BMW, being it's so old. Was a pretty cool bike though. Heated grips from the factory, the electric windshield that moves up and down, that actually works. The big flashy lights actually still works. So I did test out a lot of the electricals that I could with a test battery. But let me know if you guys want to see this. If you do, I'll make some videos. If not, it's no big deal. We'll stick to the vintage stuff. But that's all for now. Until next time, get out in the garage and work on something. Happy New Year.